Why do carbs make you gain weight? Are carbs bad for you? In this video we're going to talk about exactly that, and I'm going to answer the question, and at the end of the video I'm also going to give you a little tip, a little bonus on how to eat carbs without storing them as fat. So, the best time to eat carbs. Hi to everyone, I am Tommy. I'm a human nutrition student and researcher at the university. My job here is to consume a lot of content in the health topic, and then I do my own curation, and then I explain and teach you the best and most valuable information you need to know. Okay, so to start this video we're going to focus on the different types of carbs we can find. There are two main factors that differentiate carbohydrates: the glycemic index and the glycemic load. Starting with the glycemic index. The glycemic index is how fast the carbohydrates we ingested are going to raise the glucose levels in the bloodstream. So having that in mind, we can differentiate between the low glycemic index, the medium glycemic index, and the high glycemic index. So with low glycemic index, we have carbohydrates that raise the blood glucose levels very low, and that's because maybe they have a lot of fiber, so the time required to get all those carbohydrates we ingested in the bloodstream will take a while, will take more time. And these are, for example, berries. Berries have very low glycemic index. Then we have medium glycemic index foods such as potatoes. Potatoes raise our glucose levels in the bloodstream, but not that much. And then we have the high glycemic index, such as the rice. White rice is very high in the glycemic index. The GI is very, very high. Then we also have the glycemic load. The glycemic load is the percentage of carbohydrates there are in the food. For example, the berries have a few carbs, like around 10%. Then white rice, on the other hand, has around 80% of carbs. So as you can see, there are differences between the quantities of carbohydrates that there are in the food we ingest. And that's going to make a significant difference. So having those two parameters, those two factors, you have to know that those two are going to play together. Yes, because we can find foods with very low glycemic load and very high glycemic index, such as the watermelon, for example. And the reverse also happens. So you have to know that these two parameters together are going to trigger insulin. The combination of these two are the equivalent of insulin released. The spikes of insulin we have after a meal are the consequences of these two factors. So here insulin is playing too, because insulin is the hormone released by the pancreas when there is a very high amount of carbohydrates in the bloodstream. And as carbohydrates in the bloodstream cannot stay there, we need to put them inside the tissue, and insulin is the key that helps our body to do that. It's like a key that opens the door of the tissue to let the carbohydrates get in via the glucose transporter 4. Insulin is a very anabolic hormone. So anabolism is triggered when insulin plays. Anabolism leads us to growth. It takes small molecules and creates larger molecules. This happens and is very helpful for muscle growth. But you have to know that insulin also triggers the anabolism of fat. The adipose tissue is going to grow as well. So be careful with insulin. I have a video talking about insulin, answering the question, is insulin the bad guy? Go watch this video if you're interested in. So continuing with this video, carbohydrates that have high glycemic index and high glycemic load are going to trigger insulin a lot, and they are going to create an insulin spike very, very high, and that's going to get us into an anabolic state in which is more easily to get fat to grow. On the other hand, the medium-low glycemic index carbs with medium-low glycemic load the percentage of carbs that there are in the food, are going to spike insulin less than the previous ones. So we have a more gradual increase of the insulin released. By doing this, we are capable of metabolizing better those carbs we ingested, store less carbs as fat, trigger less insulin, and this is a better solution overall. So answering the question, do carbs make you gain weight? Yes and no. Why? Because it depends. If you're eating multiple times in a day foods that are high in carbohydrates and those carbs are very high glycemic ones, then chances are you are going to gain weight by eating carbs. But that's not the point. If you change those carbohydrate sources to others that have a medium or even a low glycemic index, chances are you are going to trigger insulin less and you're going to store less fat and you will not gain weight. Of course, calories still matter, because if you eat more than what you need, you'll also gain weight even if you eat low carbs. But in the end, making this change will certainly improve your health and your body composition. And here comes the bonus. The bonus is a little tip for you guys, so you can know when to eat carbohydrates, very high glycemic carbohydrates such as pasta and pizza and bread, without storing them as fat, or maybe having less chances to do it. So the best time to eat carbohydrate sources that are very high in carbs and they do have a very high glycemic index is right after a workout. Why? Well, because we're going to spike our insulin very, very high, and that's going to open a lot of doors to put those carbohydrates inside the tissues. But guess what? We have done exercise. We exercise, and after the workout, our muscles are starving for energy, are starving for glucose. Insulin is going to prioritize the opening of those doors, is going to open the doors of the muscles. So those carbohydrates are going to get inside our muscle tissue to repair it. And that's great, because by doing that, we are going to trigger less the opening of the fat tissues. The adipose tissue is going to be in a second plan. Of course, if you eat too much carbs, then chances are we are going to open that doors as well. But by doing this, we are going to prioritize the muscles. That's it. This video is over. I hope you liked and understood every concept I explained. If you have any doubts or maybe suggestion, there's a comment section down below. Remember to like, subscribe and click on the bell icon down below to get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one. Ciao!